Hello guys and welcome to our channel. This is Paperroll, and today's video we'll be talking about the update to land spears for the upcoming expansion in only like a couple of weeks now. Revenant have given us an article about the changes they made after the last beta, and it's not every skill in detail. We will wait for the release note of the expansion as they say here, but they tell us the concept of what generally changed about every spear, what they adjusted from the feedback they got on the beta. So we'll be starting with the Ranger because I know most of you here coming for the Ranger specifically. So we've discussed some problem about Ranger Spear. For a start, the damage itself is not convincing for you to run in PvE in general. It competes with other weapons that have similar or even better tools. It works against itself from the stealth skill because Ranger always have multiple taken abilities, like a Warhorn 4, like if you had Immobilize on the enemy from Second of the Wild or Entangle or any Ranger, a Black Hole effect on Celestial Avatar, anything like that. So it worked very bad against Druid and against other general builds for Ranger if you count in anything of this, because you will be revealed and you will lose access to the enhanced skills of the spear. So what did they do to change that? They say they wanted a strong narrative theme to the weapon, but it didn't land quite correctly, so some skills like the stealth and beasting lacked the damage needed to make the weapon competitive option, and due to the popularity of traps and other balls and skills like we explained, entangle or anything like that, even the traps like they explained, it had to weave in and out of stealth and complete your attack before you were revealed, but that obviously was very difficult to achieve and sometimes against the build and the correct use of your skill and timing. To remedy this, Bouncer's Brawl will now grant Hunter's Prowess for a short duration. Hunter Prowess will allow you to use your next stealth skill even if you were revealed. So the stealth and reveal will work normally. If you want to access the stealth for survivability, and this is the real point you want, it will happen completely normally. But if you are revealed, if you simply want to access the skill himself, it's not about the stealth now, like in the middle of a fight, you will still have this effect that will give you access to your skill even if you are revealed, because another skill that did a tick of damage. Another issue is Panther Brawl and Spider's Web sharing a cooldown. We, on the skill of the stealth, if you access it, all the skills of the weapon change to, from 2 to 5, change to better skills or enhanced ones. The stealth one used to change to Spider's Web, when you can throw on it that do damage and give Immobilize to the enemy. But that means you have only 2 ammunition of stealth, so you will stealth and you will use it, you will lose access to the skill and lose access to the enhanced skills on the rest of the spear, until you get 1 ammunition at least of cooldown. So now they will be separating the cooldown when you use Spider's Web. So it will be like 2 skills on the same button, I guess, but it still have different cooldowns. So even if you go through the ammunition, if you stealth in any other way, you will still have Spider's Web access completely normal with its own cooldown every time you access the effect of Hunter's Prowess that you get from the skill Panther's Brawl. So that's for Ranger. How do I think this general changes will land with Spear? So Spears in general was very good in competitive only and for power builds, and especially for Untamed, because the Unleash skill have a 600 reduce, so it can clip people easily even around walls and do some serious damage. So it's a single powerful tick from this, and people use the Spirit skill that do damage also, so few clicks and you can one-shot a person. And some people have built it this way. From stealth they can do a couple of hits immediately without you even seeing it coming. And increasing the damage will advance a bit in this build, but if you compare it to other weapons in general, and especially in PvE, it will give you a little bit of mobility. Now the CC will be easier accessible, so you can get the daze from the leap and you can get the Immobilize without worrying about the idea of stealth, but you need to still access the skill twice. Unless this short duration of Hunter Prowess effect will actually continue even if you used more than one skill. So the idea used to be if you use a skill you get revealed, so it's over. But if Hunter Prowess continue for a duration, you can access more than one skill, then this is a big change. This will be very good if it's not consumed as an effect or anything. So now you can have access to 2 CC skills, you can have access to some decent mobility, a little bit of range, so you're not completely shut off if you are not in melee. And if the damage is decent, it will always be a welcome weapon depending on how the meta changed in PvE. And in PvP it still has its role because it's already a stealthing weapon. It's still a power weapon, so it will only work for power builds, but I think it's a good change in general. We will wait to see it exactly in the game and how the numbers will work. Now for the list of the classes, we will go with the normal order with start Elementalist, and I think Elementalists have seen the biggest changes of them all. So the complaints about it was how it is completely graphically noisy and it can't make anyone see anything, so the beta went when only the Elementalists have seen the etching effects or this 5 skill, the big circle on the rand, while other people only saw it like a field, not really a red circle when you can't see what the enemy is doing. So they have adjusted some of this graphics. They wanted it to be really focused on the visual thing, like a visual ambitious weapon they wanted to create, and they're proud of it, and they should. But they changed it a little bit so it won't look this distracting from how the game work around you. And they have increased a little bit of the damage on some skills for all game modes, especially for capstone etching skills. Along damage enhancement, they will be making changes for quality of life. So the etching duration, when you have to cast 3 skills inside the skill, so when you release it, it will be the most powerful version of itself, was very short, so you'd have to immediately get into it or build very specifically for it to make sure it lands, especially in competitive modes, for an instant cast skills or something like that. So now they will give you a bigger duration of few seconds actually. So even in PvE, if you had to dodge out and in back, if you get CC'd and then you have to stun break and cast more, so you have any kind of delay, you will still be able to cast your skills and have enough time to do it. Safe and Energize will not affect auto attack, and the visual noise of the etching has been reduced, as we say. They have also added strike damage component to Fulgor and rebalanced some of its effectiveness away from damage over time in PvE. For a more immediate effect, we are hoping these changes result in a smoother experience with great impact. So I think in generally it have been adjusted to be well. Only Elementalist players will be able to judge that fully, I guess, if they enjoy it or not. Now for Necromancer. The biggest downside for the Necromancer spear was how difficult it is to manage the maximum amount of shards and need to be accurate. You barely were able to keep the maximum stack of them, which is like 6, I remember, or something like that, because it was dominated by the skill Isolate and Distress. They have increased soul shards generation outside of the Force Spear skill, and soul shard duration will now be refreshed when you gain more shards. With those changes and lowering of the threshold needed to immobilize with Adel, we are hoping the weapons has more consistent power level and doesn't feel weak when you miss Isolate, because you had to keep up this rotation accurately. You use the skill, teleport to the enemy, hit your skill 2 to unload the shards, enter Shroud, and it will reset the skill 4 and you can follow again. It was a constant specific rotation. So in always you can miss, you can get CC'd, you can be dodged, stuff like that, so they want the weapon still to feel effective in general, no matter what happened, when you're blinded, anything like that while you are in the fray of the fight. And extra bait will now generate life force as well to help you follow up on its big hit. Very good changes. It's still gonna be a dangerous weapon. I hope the balance side from it was now having Necromancer with Harbinger stuff. They have some crazy damage, they can lock you down easily, and now they have multiple boards and easier mobility. So I guess this will be up to the balance team to look into it, but on the weapon side, especially for everything, not everything is competitive obviously, like PvE and stuff, I think it's good changes in general. Now for Mesmer. The spear provided a unique pattern for gameplay. So this was probably the best weapon for many people that have tried it. Everyone loved it, and a spear for Thief probably in PvE I think was crazy damage, so people loved it too. However, it is tough for people who are not really I would say good enough to use it, because you have to use the skill that give you the effect clarity when the enemy on the outer edge of the skill, not inside it in general, not just cleaved by it. There's an outer side and inner side. Even so, again, it made the outer edge will always be prioritized, and it will land even if you're close to this or far a little bit from this, it will land unless you're really in a different zone, like if you're really in the inside or something like that, it will not land. But the way the weapon performed because of that, if people missed it, varied a lot depending if you had the clarity effect and if you didn't. And clarity now made it will be gained by hitting mind the gap regardless of whether it was on outer edge of the hit or inside. But that outer edge will still be important. They are updating the visual to better outline where the hitbox is. And the skill will still deal increased damage as well as guarantee critical hit on outer edge. And they changed some skill according to this. So imaginary inversion also seeing a change in its function. To help consistency of the tool it brings, it will always clear condition from you at the start of the casting with no clarity required. It will also heal you if you evade an attack. Even if you don't land the attack portion, clarity will now increase this healing. And they changed or fixed something about the change to weapon concerning the phantasm. They saw in the beta, or everyone saw in the beta, that the lancer routinely got outplayed by terrain. So if there is a bubble on the ground or an elevation, it can't land, it go in a direct line immediately. So they make it go a bit vertical now. They will now jump in the air and launch the spear at their target instead. This spear will damage an area on impact, a much more reliable follow-up for the Mesmer. So basically they made the clarity effect in general, it seemed like it will be only a bit of enhancement. So it will increase the healing here, increase the damage here. And if you don't have it, it will still, the weapon will work to a complete function. And I don't really like that. They making it easy to one of the best classes to have mobility and exact positioning on the target enemy, whether in PvE or in competitive, with the ability even to lock the target down with immobilize or stun or whatever. And they still made it easy for this class that has this good positioning to land its skill no matter what it do, whether right or wrong. I get that Revenant still want to sell an expansion and want to make this weapon a very big future and not have an easier weapon and better choices, so I even have to use it, so Mesmer would go to older weapons or something like that, but I think this is a little bit of a dumbing down or making it something easier when it kinda shouldn't. For example, let me give you examples on Ranger and how this works. Take a skill like Exploding Spores. It will give poison, but it will only do the knockdown if the enemy hit by every single spore, which means I have to be at the enemy's feet and land the skill on them like that, so that enemy would be knocked down. As you see, the Defiance bar take a little bit of a hit, which means in the middle of a fight, especially in combative fights, this can be very difficult, or at least you need a way to lock the enemy down before using a skill like this and it chain CC and stun locking them. So you would do an immobilize first and then the knockdown and then use an hammer skill 4 or skill 5. You keep chaining these ways to lock the enemy. You have to position yourself well in it. And ignore one skill. This is one skill, not the weapon, not a short cooldown and you have to keep using it. Then let me give you a bit, an entire bit, and how it functions around it. Something like the turtle. When the turtle attacks an enemy, she will keep herself in distance, not accessing this melee skill. And even if we put them on auto attack, it will cast the range one for the days, but it will never go in melee and use this. So how we use this? If you're on Untamed, you can simply press it and the turtle will go to the target. But if you play in any other skill like any other build like Druid or Soulbeast or whatever, you would have to control it by micromanagement its position. So you would have to call it to you using return to me and then force it to attack again, because you can't access your skill on something like Druid. So you would do something like that, and when it come in close position, because you direct yourself, you force it to attack, and now it will go and do the CC. And this level of micromanagement is crazy. You keep controlling your bit by calling to you and then sending it again. And you can't really fix this as ArenaNet because this part makes the bit reliable in another form. You would have to keep the bit in a specific position, always know when you will land this bubble, because this is a supportive bit that's used by any support build too. Even in Zergs, even in PvE, even in raids, you can take it anything. And not only that, to make Mechanist feel better, ArenaNet have made you can't interrupt the skills, so you have a reliable rotation PvE for boons and stuff, so they made all AI for all bits, even Ranger, will not interrupt their own casting or auto attack from skills, so they cast the skill you order them to. So if I go to Iboga, for example, and she starts attacking the enemy, I will press this skill, and as you see, she doesn't cast it. She have to finish her own skills first. I have to either very hard spam it, or wait until she finishes the cast, or call her to me and then cast this. So I interrupt her forcibly by return to me. Why am I giving you all this explanation about micromanagement and stuff like that? Many classes have this, many builds have this, not only us rangers. And for you to make the build simply easier, when it contradicts how the class works, because it has the advantage of movement and positioning, it just making the class easier for no reason, in my opinion. And made some functionality like the clarity to be very minimum. It's just about extra damage, extra healing. Very good player will always use it, but this should have been rewarding, I guess, to very good Mesmers in how they actually work, or punishing if you don't. Or at least, it had to be worth a little bit more than extra some percent of damage or extra some percent of healing. Now for Thief. Thief Spear have been crazy damage in PvE. I think it reached like 60k or something like that. And there wasn't much complaint about it, but again, it will still give it some adjustment. So it was a take on the original assassin from Guild Wars and putting it into the modern game. So what did they do? The sequence of skills, skill 2 and 3, the way they work, that you will change skills. You would have skills that will give you another one if you use it, another one. So the idea, if you missed, you will start the chain, and if you hit, you will progress. And now we go with Thief. This was a take on the original assassin from Guild Wars. They will change the rule from how the skill chain work or progress. The chain will now always progress when you use a skill instead of relying on hitting the target. I can't remember exactly how it worked, but I think it used to be if you missed the target, it will reset. And if you hit, it will continue. Now it will keep progressing whether you hit or not. So if you didn't land this one, you land the bigger, stronger one, I guess, if you're fighting an enemy. Or you will completely remove the last one if you missed it, and you start the chains. If you press the skill, it will keep chaining in the combat. This aims to help weapon feel smoother with the skill queue system and enhance its reliability in competitive modes. This weapon ended strong in PvE, so there will be some unsurprising downward adjustments. They will be nerfing it because it was crazy. I think it went up to 60k or something like that. To its adjustment output, its finishing skills and stealth skills will have their target cap raised to help Thief Spear identity as Clave Weapon. So I have a little bit of a problem with Thief 2. So we have seen how broken Thief is keep getting be. It's already a broken class by design. The stealth mechanic is already broken in Guild Wars 2. It's a huge carry up for something. If you are a Thief main and you don't agree with this, I'm sorry, but this is how I think. And we have seen the most broken class in the game, Deadeye. We have seen the axes that Thief got in Soto, and it is stupidly powerful. It's almost unpredictable this easy. You can't see it from stealth in big group fights. It's insane damage, and the game keeps buying to this. And the bar creep in general took the game by a storm. Like Willbenders, Mesmers, bar Mesmers are insane in World vs World, for example, now. So it's not only Thief or something like that, but for this weapon and the context we are talking about, this weapon have great mobility, huge follow-up, some great chains of different condition skills, some great survivability with healing and block. And now it has a cleave, which was one of the weak point of Thief, that it can't really cleave because of its mobility, its ability to assassin and spike enemies, so it had to have downsides to it. And for one of that was low health for Thief design in general, which not really relevant anymore in Guild Wars 2. You have many stats to adjust this, different options. The game is already very strong, and like everyone can just have healing from there, boons from there. The game just power crept. So these are not really reliable takedowns, and this weapon feel to be a very strong weapon by design. I'm not really able to judge it yet. We will see it in game, especially on release, but I feel it need more thinking into how it's balanced, or what is the weakness of the weapon as much as the strength of it. Think of it like Ranger Maces. Ranger Maces got their damage reduced a little bit to give a chance for the hammer and other weapons, because we get huge amount of boons, support, stability, barrier, many things from it. So even if the weapon is a little bit weak, if a little bit stronger than it should, it have to leave a room for other way. But maybe they pay attention to this. Maybe the number will be the cast time, how long you're open in order to land your skills, maybe will make this weapon a little bit more balanced. I'm not very sure. For safe mains, tell me what you think in the comments, I guess. Now, the biggest problem for engineers probably keeping track of the focused effect, because people was not able to see which target's focused, because it's a small arc or like an orange arc on the enemy. You don't see if the focus is still there, so they will give you an effect on your character to show you that the focus is happening and how long it will continue, and they will make it appear on the target visually more clearer. They also made some casting time a little bit faster. They found it to be a bit slow to help the weapon feel smoother. And Skilled Devastator will see speed increase, range increase, and significant reduction to the aftercast, which is all good and will help the weapon actually be better for engineers and give you more information at least while you're working with it. Revenant was probably the most hated weapon, I would say, in the beta. People felt it heavy and weak and do only one condition, so they complained that it can be easily cleansed. It takes a lot of time to build up the damage, it's slow in casting, they said that the range is weird. A lot of people didn't like the range, I guess. So what did Arena did about that? Spear made to be a heavy weapon that built up strengths to build up and do a powerful damage. However, in the beta they saw this weight was unwieldy and its bunches lacked impact. Casting time have been decreased across many skills, and we are increasing the condition variety of the skills to help its damage stick. But they didn't tell us what other conditions will be there. I guess the normal Revenant stuff, they will give a chill to some skill, slow to other, stuff like that, not building into different damage. Maybe they will add another damage condition beside Torment, because the weapon completely rely on Torment. And Crushing Abyss maximum stack, which is skill 5 that you keep building, trying to make it to its maximum potential before landing it, or keep landing it in this high skill or high level. They now reduced the maximum stack from 5 to 3, so they can make it much stronger, and you can level it up to 3, like stack it very fast, making the weapon reach its maximum potential a lot faster. Abyssal Blood will now ball immediately, helping the weapon set itself up better. The result of these changes is more fluid weapon with more tools to secure its damage, which is all seem good and great. I guess the weapon will be a little bit better. They wouldn't adjust it into the range thing, and I think they kinda should. You already have the short bow if you really want a range weapon. This weapon have better defense than short bow, so you have I guess one skill that will make you dodge and slow the enemy behind you, stuff like that. So the way it work and how it's the heavy AoE, and you put it with another weapon, either range or melee. Think of it as a melee weapon, but with a great range that you get to control. So Arena didn't want to change that, it seemed, and I think they're right on it. I don't think the range was a serious problem. Now, Guardian Spear was crazy in 1 vs. World. This will be the main weapon for many Guardians in Zerg, actually. It does some great damage, it can cleave many targets, so you can trigger the burn from the passive effect. Everything was very good and usable, and it can give boons and stuff like that. However, the skill 2 was the biggest complaint for many people, because you can dash forward to heal and stuff, but you have to press it again to stop it mid the distance to stop in the point you want. You don't go too far or something like that. So now they're changing to a ground target that will stop the skill when you reach the point of the ground target, when you hit this target location. So you can cast it in a shorter distance or in the longest distance possible. And they're given some updates like improvement to self-healing and healing on Solar Storm, and Symbol of Luminance will now always apply resistance to allies once. So I guess it's a very good adjustment to the weapon that all Guardian will like. And for Warrior, so Warrior, I guess it was very great in PvP for how strong it was, but many PvE players hated it, and many players in general complained about that it's a range weapon that try to push you into getting into melee again, because it will increase the radius, increase the damage, stuff like that if you are in melee, and this was a problematic thing. If I want to be in range, why you want me to be in melee? So instead of making the effectiveness vary by distance, the weapon will now do more damage for the first target struck. So the target you already have and use it on, even if it will cleave around it, this one will take the highest damage in general. Spear Swipe will get some update to its functionality, such as cooldown refund if you evade an attack with it, which is a skill that move you backward when you jump and evade with it. It's a defensive skill on the spear. The most important note, Spear Marshal support has been improved and will now track the target better. I think this skill was unable to track the target. It was very bad. It's very difficult to land, and now they will just fix it. So tell me what you think. If you disagree, share your opinions. Every point we all like to read and get the points from every class main, like Elementalist, Necromancer, everything, and especially for the Mesmer and Thieves, the ones I complained a bit of the changes. And I would like to say eventually that in general this will be better for many players, for both those classes. It will just make the weapon more reliable, easier to land the hits, just good sequence, good rotation, and will feel good. But I think you don't have to make the game just easier or simpler all the time. Some things have to differ. And that's why I give, for example, for the micromanagement stuff and the positioning and examples from Ranger. So that's it for the video. Put your comments, likes, share, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll be seeing you next time. Peace.